Hi, everybody. I'm reading here the comments on the chat. Lou Garcia says no clue, but don't worry. It says, I hope today's subject, you're going to like today's subject, and I hope it's going to be easy to understand. So, hi, everybody. This is Mike. Welcome to another live class. Today is Thursday, October 26th, 2023, and it's 7:25 p.m. in Colombia. I want to thank you, everybody, everybody, and the ones who are right now during this live streaming class. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here tonight. And also, I want to thank all of the people who are watching this video later because hey, Serena, thank you for being here. You're always here with us. Thank you. Remember that these classes, these videos, I keep the videos in a list, a playlist, which is called live classes, of course, and it makes sense. So you can always watch those videos there. So in the past few videos, we've been learning verb conjugation. Today, we're going to do the same. But before we start, I wanted to tell you that pretty soon we're going to start a basic course, basic Spanish course, in which we are going to learn basic stuff, and hopefully that's going to be helpful and useful for all of you guys. And today, I mean tonight, we're going to learn about verb patterns in Spanish. Verb patterns in Spanish, and this is something interesting. Before we start, remember, 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 if you like the video, please share with your friends, group, social media. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, click the bell button in order to get notifications. And because we are posting videos pretty much on a weekly basis, we're going live once or twice a week. So this is for you to be able to get the notifications whenever a new video is posted. Also, the chat during the live classes is only enabled for subscribers. It doesn't cost a dime. Also, I want to really thank all of the members of the channel, the people who are members of the channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your support and looking forward to keeping on making contents that can be useful and helpful for all of you guys. So, as I explained before, welcome to another live class, right? And tonight, we're going to learn verb patterns in Spanish. Verb patterns in Spanish work slightly different than verb patterns in English. And that's one of the reasons why, for us Spanish speakers, it's tough to learn verb patterns in English. And also, it can be confusing for you, English speakers, to try and understand these verb patterns. By the way, in Spanish, verb patterns are called perífrasis verbales. That's how we call verb patterns in Spanish. Perífrasis verbales. I'm pretty much sure that all of you guys, English speakers, are you know how to work with verb patterns, but perhaps you're not quite familiar on the concept itself. So perhaps you're asking yourselves, what is a verb pattern? So the forms in English that use two verbs in a same sentence, the same subject conjugating two verbs, being the first verb conjugated in any time and the second verb either in their infinitive form or their gerund form. Those forms of in English are often referred to as verb patterns, or also verb combinations of verbs, in which the same subject is conjugating two verbs. The first verb is conjugated the way it has to be, the simple present, simple future, simple past, present perfect, whatever, continuous forms, whatever form. And the second verb can be either a gerund or infinitive form. Those are verb patterns. The thing is that there are several common verb patterns in English. The choice of the pattern often depends on the main verb, the first verb in the sentence, and the intended meaning. That makes the two most common verb patterns in English are infinitive verb patterns and gerund verb patterns. Meaning, when I say, I want to eat, I need to go, that's an infinitive verb pattern because the first verb is regular conjugation and the second verb is the infinitive form. And the gerund verb pattern would be, I enjoy swimming. In this case, the first verb is conjugated, I enjoy, and the second verb goes in the gerund form. For us, Spanish speakers, I guess it's the same for any non-English native speaker, it's tough because we think differently. We would say, I enjoy to swim, as opposed to, I enjoy swimming. But we have to learn why in English we say you say, I enjoy swimming, as opposed to, I enjoy to swim. Although both forms can be understood, and perhaps the wrong form is not that harmful when it comes to communication, to conveying ideas. But nonetheless, the right form should be the gerund verb pattern in the case of the verb enjoy. So, in Spanish, as I said before, this is called perífrasis verbales. And in Spanish, we have three different perífrasis verbales. We have infinitive, gerund, and participle. So, we are going to go just in the infinitive form, which is the one that goes with these two English verb patterns. Anytime you use an infinitive verb pattern or a gerund verb pattern in Spanish, we always go infinitive. We always go infinitive. So this reminds me of the differences between the gerund and the present participle in Spanish and English. In Spanish, the gerund is something which is totally different than the gerund in English. And whereas in English we have the present participle, in Spanish we don't have that form. So the present participle in English is the same that the gerund in Spanish. And whatever would have been the present participle in Spanish is what it is the gerund in English. It's kind of complicated, but this is just for information. So, having said this, oh, by the way, once again, hi Lou and hi Serena and everybody who's out there right now live with us. So, having said that, let's move to this little thing here, which is the verb patterns. So, in English, as I explained before, we have infinitive verb patterns and gerund verb patterns. We have a group of verbs in which we just go infinitive pattern. We have some verbs in which we go just gerund verb pattern. And there are some verbs that allow us to use both infinitive and gerund verb patterns. So I have a list here, and I want to show you first the verb patterns that in English go with the infinitive form. So we have the first verb is to want. In Spanish, to want is translated as, hey, Patty Salamanca, how are you? Thanks for being here, and hopefully this is going to be useful for you too. To want in Spanish means querer or desear. The conjugations, depending on the tenses, go according to the subject. Remember, yo quiero, yo deseo, tú quieres, tú deseas, usted quiere, usted desea, él quiere, él desea, and so and so. So, if I have the verb to want in English and in a sentence I'm using a verb pattern that goes along with an infinitive verb, because with the want I cannot use a gerund form. I cannot say I want going. It sounds kind of weird, but I can say or I think that's the way it's with the verb to want. But I say I want to be your friend. So whenever I go with this, I always use the second verb in Spanish in their infinitive form, meaning ar, ir. In the case of to be can be translated both as this we have seen that this in other videos. We have a video for the verb to be translated as to be, and we have a video for the verb to be translated as estar. So please, if you haven't checked that yet, please go and check those videos in order to understand their conjugations. So whenever you have a verb pattern in English in which the second verb goes as infinitive, we always go infinitive, always. So in this case, I want to be your friend. Yo quiero, that's simple present, yo quiero ser, to be, ser your friend, tu amigo, ser tu amigo. In this case, to be is translated as ser because to be friends is supposed to be something that is going to be permanent. Of course, things can happen between people. Relationships are weird, but nonetheless, the full idea of friendship is to be something permanent. So that's the reason why we say ser tu amigo, ser tu amigo. I want to be your friend, yo quiero ser tu amigo. Let's say, if I say I want to go, it would be yo quiero to go, ir. I want to go. In this case, I'm going to write this here. Or let's change the subject. He wants to go. Él quiere ir. He wants to go. Él quiere ir. Él quiere ir. We can conjugate the verb in different tenses. We wanted to play. Nosotros queríamos jugar. So whenever you use the verb to want followed by another verb in their infinitive form in English, the same we do in Spanish. And basically, we always go in these patterns, as I explained first, whether they are infinitive or gerund verb patterns, we always go infinitive in Spanish. We always go infinitive. Don't worry about that. So, next verb, to decide, to decide. Decide means decidir, to decide, decidir, right? I want to decide, to make a choice, decidir. And again, he decided to go with her. In this case, we are going in the past tense. He decided to go with her. Él decidió, simple past, right? To go, ir. To go, ir. The second verb goes ar, ir. Infinitive, always infinitive. He decided to go with her. Él decidió ir con ella. We could say, we decided to work tomorrow. Nosotros decidimos trabajar mañana. To work, infinitive, in Spanish, ar, ir. The teacher decided to teach something new. The teacher decided to teach something new. El profesor decidió enseñar, to teach, something new, algo nuevo. We move to the next verb, promise, promise. Prometer, to promise, prometer. Carlos promises to study more. Carlos promete estudiar más. So as you can see, the second verb always in their infinitive form ar, ir in Spanish. My friend promised to wake up early. Mi amigo prometió to wake up, despertarse early, temprano. The student promises to pass the test. El estudiante promete to pass, pasar the test, el examen. We go with the verb to plan, planear. I planned to travel tomorrow. Yo planeé, I planned to travel, viajar. Tomorrow, mañana. Yo planeé viajar mañana. He plans to buy a new car. He plans to buy a new car. Él planea comprar un carro nuevo. To forget, olvidar. To forget, olvidar. I forgot to bring the keys. Olvidé traer, to bring, traer the keys, las llaves. I forgot to bring the keys. Yo olvidé traer las llaves. To hope, esperar. As an additional note, in Spanish, wait, hope, and expect are all translated as esperar. All of them, the three of the verbs, to hope, to wait, and to expect are translated as esperar, with different meanings, of course, but nonetheless the same verb, esperar. In this case, to hope, esperar, or tener la esperanza de, to hope. So we go, we hope to be here early. Esperamos estar aquí temprano. In this case, estar, because I can be somewhere and that's temporary. That's the reason why we use estar. We hope to be here early. Esperamos estar aquí temprano. We hope to win. We hope to win the game. Nosotros esperamos, we hope to win, ganar, ir, the game, el juego. Offer, ofrecer, to offer, ofrecer. I offered to assist you. Ofrecí ayudarte. Ofrecí asistirte. Ofrecí atenderte. To assist can be translated as ayudar, atender, or asistir. I offered to assist you. Yo ofrecí atenderte, asistirte, ayudarte, ayudar, ir. Second verb, always infinitive in Spanish. And in this case, in English, it's also infinitive, because this is the first set of verbs in which the verb pattern goes the main verb and an infinitive verb, a verb in their infinitive form. To learn, aprender. In English, we can say to learn and to learn how to. To learn to and to learn how to. In Spanish, we just translate this as aprender. I will learn to fly. Aprenderé a volar. In this case, aprender, something interesting, when it goes with the second verb, we need to add the preposition a. A in Spanish. Aprender a. And this verb would go with the last three. But anyhow, I just forgot to put it there. Aprender, the verb to learn, when it goes with the second. In fact, let's move this just to take this for the last explanation. Let's put it here. This would be the last. So let's forget about aprender and let's go with need, to need, necesitar. And we'll do that in just a few minutes. Necesitar. Necesitar, to need. She would need to be here tomorrow. Ella necesitaría to be, estar aquí mañana. To be here tomorrow, estar aquí mañana. To ask, pedir or preguntar. In the case of a verb pattern, if I go with a verb pattern using ask and a verb in their infinitive form, although ask can be translated in Spanish both as pedir or preguntar, then for the verb pattern, we just translate it as pedir. So when I say she asked you to go with her, the translation is Ella pidió. Ella te pidió que fueras con ella. I ask to get more money. Pido tener más dinero. Pido tener, pedir algo. To ask something. Pedir, ir. Pidió salir, pedir, comer, all of those. Arrange, the verb arrange. Arrange means arreglar, organizar, also ordenar in Spanish. And this is the kind of verb that when we use it as a verb pattern, the second verb goes infinitive form. So we have arranged to have a meeting. This is a present perfect. Hemos arreglado tener una reunión. Tener, to have. Infinitive. It's easy. Refuse, rehusarse, rehusarse. I refuse to be here. Rehuso estar aquí. To be, estar aquí. Not ser, because it's temporary. And demand, exigir, demandar. Exigir, demandar. She demands to talk with you. Ella exige hablar contigo. When it goes as a verb pattern, demand is best to be translated in Spanish as exigir. Although the verb itself can be translated both as exigir or demandar. When it goes as a verb pattern, it's way better to use it translated as exigir. She demands to talk with you. Ella exige hablar contigo. And we have these three verbs. These three verbs are interesting verbs because of the way we use it. When we use the verb agree, followed by a verb in their infinitive form, being a verb pattern, an infinitive verb pattern in English, in Spanish, we can translate agree as estar de acuerdo en, estar de acuerdo con, and estar de acuerdo a. Interesting thing. When we use agree as a verb pattern in English, we usually translate it as estar de acuerdo en, because the following word is a verb. If we use con or a instead of en in Spanish, it doesn't sound right when we use a verb following the verb estar de acuerdo. Agree, estar de acuerdo. And this is a verb that can be difficult for us because when we first learn agree and they say it means estar de acuerdo, we have the tendency to use it with the verb to be. We say we are agree. No, that's not the way we use it. Of course, you know, but that's something that is hard for us. So remember, the verb agree, when it's translated, when it's used as a verb pattern, as an infinitive verb pattern, it has to be translated as estar de acuerdo en. In this case, we agreed to sign the papers. Nosotros, we agree, estamos de acuerdo to sign, en firmar. You see, we need to add this en. Although agree means to be estar de acuerdo, en estar de acuerdo a, estar de acuerdo con. When it's used in English as an infinitive verb pattern, we have to translate it as estar de acuerdo en. We agree to sign the papers. Nosotros estamos de acuerdo en firmar los papeles. With the verb learn, something similar happens. Learn means aprender. But then we need to translate it as aprender a. Because nosotros aprendemos a jugar. Nosotros aprendemos a leer. Aprender algo. Right? When it's followed by a verb in their infinitive form, infinitive verb pattern, to learn must be translated as aprenderá. In the case of I will learn to fly or I will learn how to fly, it is translated as yo aprenderé a volar. Yo aprenderé a volar. Aprender a. And the first verb must be translated the way it is, but the second verb, whatever it is, has to be translated in Spanish as a verb in their infinitive form. He learned to drive. Él aprendió a conducir. And this is something interesting too, because to have, the verb to have, in English, if it's used as a verb pattern, infinitive verb pattern, the verb to have can be translated as tener or haber. It's interesting. And in this case, this is something very interesting. We have to eat more. Nosotros tenemos que comer más. In this case, second verb always goes infinitive form. But to have, when it goes with a second verb, it has to go with que, which is different than when I say I have a house. Yo tengo una casa. In this case, to have is translated as tener, just tener, that's it. A una house casa. Yo tengo una casa, I have a house. But if we use the verb to have as an infinitive verb pattern, we always have to add the que. Nosotros tenemos que comer más. If I say, I have to work tomorrow. Yo tengo, I have. Que, because there's another verb, to work, trabajar, mañana. In this case, I'm being so clear of the fact that it is I, the one who has to work tomorrow. But in Spanish, because we're so complicated with Spanish, sometimes instead of using the verb tener, we use the verb haber in personal verb. So instead of this, we can say, hay que trabajar mañana. Hay que trabajar mañana. It is very interesting. When I say hay que trabajar mañana, it can be either I have to work tomorrow or we have to work tomorrow. And we use this hay que just to make reference to the fact that is something that it's a duty. It has to be done one way or another. And somebody has to do it. Can be you, can be I, or can we both? I mean, can be me. Sorry. So let's say we're home right now, right? We're home. And let's say there's a mess in the kitchen. Dishes need to be washed, right? So I say, hay que lavar los platos. Meaning, I don't want to, but somebody has to do that. We have to wash the dishes. That's the way in English to say hay que lavar los platos, which would be the same to tenemos que lavar los platos. Let me write this right here. We have to wash the dishes. Tenemos que, nosotros, right? Nosotros tenemos, we, nosotros. Remember, we can skip the subject in Spanish, but let's write it. Nosotros tenemos que lavar los platos. Remember, because it's an infinitive verb pattern, we need to add the que after have. Tenemos que lavar los platos. That would be the main translation, but that can be translated also as hay que lavar los platos. Right? We use in Spanish, tenemos que lavar los platos, being clear, direct. But if in Spanish we say, hay que lavar los platos, it's like, we know that it has to be done, but perhaps I don't want to do that. Why don't you do that yourself? Right? That's something interesting in Spanish. So, these are the verbs that in English, some of the verbs usually go followed by a verb in their infinitive form. And remember, infinitive form in English, infinitive form in Spanish. Remember, do not forget that agree followed by a verb needs to be translated as estar de acuerdo en. Right? Because if I say I agree with you, in this case, I'm not using a verb after agree. This is not a verb pattern. This has to be translated as estoy de acuerdo contigo. Contigo. O con usted. Estoy de acuerdo con usted. With you. Right? I agree with you. Interesting. But in the case of I agree, we agree to sign the papers. Estamos de acuerdo en firmar los papeles. Okay? With the verb to learn, followed by another verb, infinitive verb pattern, it has to be translated as aprenderá. And with the verb to have, in the infinitive verb pattern, it has to be translated with the word que. And it can be translated as I que if we just are trying to, like, I don't want to do that, but somebody has to do that. Okay? We can go further and practice this more in future videos, but this is like a sneak peek on that. Hay que lavar los platos. Okay, so let's delete this and let's follow with the next list of verbs. Verbs which in English usually are followed by a verb in their gerund form. That means a gerund verb pattern in English. So in English we have the gerund here, and in Spanish we would be tempted to translate this as viajando, because traveling means viajando. But this is not the present participle, but it's the gerund. So we need to translate it in Spanish again as a verb in the infinitive form. Remember, any verb pattern in English, it doesn't matter if it's the infinitive verb pattern or the gerund verb pattern. Those verb patterns are always translated as their infinitive form in Spanish. So in this case, we enjoy traveling must be translated as nosotros disfrutamos viajar. It would be like when we say we enjoy to travel. And that's the reason why for us, this is tough. Because when we think in Spanish, nosotros disfrutamos viajar, and if we want to translate that into English, we have the tendency to translate that as a verb in their infinitive form. So we would say we enjoy to travel, and of course that can pass. You can get away with that when you're chatting with somebody, when you're speaking with somebody. You are going to be understood. It's gonna sound somehow weird, but you can get away with that. Nonetheless, it's not the right way, according to the right way. In Spanish, it's so easy. You don't have to worry. Anytime you have a gerund verb pattern, the second verb always is translated as a verb in their infinitive form. In the case of mind, importar o molestar. Do you mind coming with me? Do you mind coming with me? Do you mind coming with me? It can be translated as te importaría, te molestaría venir, coming, to come, venir, conmigo, with me, te importaría venir conmigo? Do you mind coming with me? As you can see, coming being an ing verb, we could think that viniendo, but no, because we have already learned that infinitive and gerund verb patterns in English must be translated. The second verb must be translated as a verb in their infinitive form. Imagine, imaginar. Imagine living in the USA. Imagina living, vivir. Imagina. Sorry, because of the tilde. Imagina vivir, imagine living, imagina vivir en los Estados Unidos. Imagine living in the USA. Imagina vivir, second verb in Spanish, translated as a verb in their infinitive form. Avoid, evitar. Please avoid running out of gas. Por favor, evita quedarte, quedarte sin gasolina or sin combustible. Úpale, sorry. Wow. Whoa. That's a huge mistake. I shouldn't have done this. Anyhow, evita. Okay. To miss, extrañar. I miss going out with my friends. Extrañar. Extraño, yo extraño. Going out, salir, ir. Con mis amigos, with my friends. Okay. To suggest or to recommend something, both verbs. To suggest or to recommend something. I suggest studying more. Sugiero estudiar, ir. Studying, estudiar, más. They recommend reading books. Ellos recomiendan leer libros. So as you can see, second verb, although it's in the gerund form in Spanish, it has to be translated. Hay que traducirlo. It has to be translated as a verb in their infinitive form. To keep. Continuar, mantener. To keep. Keep talking. Continuar hablando. Well, in this case, to keep talking. No. Hablar. No, this one is not useful here. Sorry. To look forward to. This one, yes, it is. To look forward to. Desear, esperar con ansias, or anhelar. We look forward to hiring you. Esperamos, anhelamos, tenemos ganas, deseamos. To hiring you. Contratar. To hiring you. Contratarte. Contratarlo a usted. Contratarte. And we have two verbs. And the verb risk, which means arriesgar, in the case of tomar un riesgo, arriesgarse. In the case of the verb to risk, used as a gerund. Hey, el Jorge, gracias por estar aquí. Bienvenido. No te había visto. I hadn't seen you. Thank you for being here. The verb to risk means arriesgarse. When it's used as a gerund verb pattern, it has to be translated with the a for the next verb. In the case of this sentence, nosotros nos arriesgamos a losing, perder dinero. Let's focus on this part. We are going to study this in future videos. In the meantime, let's focus on this part. When we use to risk in a gerund verb pattern, we need to add a before the verb in their infinitive form. And in the case of to finish, when it's used in their the gerund verb form, it has to be preceded by de. So in this case, we finished the studying. Terminamos de studying, estudiar inglés. So as you can see, studying is translated in the infinitive form Spanish. Any infinitive verb pattern, any gerund verb pattern in English has to be translated as an infinitive form in Spanish. So we finish studying. If we use the verb to finish, we need to add de between the verb, the main verb, and the gerund verb. Terminamos de estudiar inglés. Keep in mind that. And we finish with verbs that usually are followed by a verb in their infinitive or gerund form. It doesn't matter, can be both. Like the verb to like, I can say both. He likes to fish, he likes fishing. It doesn't matter. Second verb in Spanish always has to be translated in their infinitive form. A él le gusta pescar. A él le gusta pescar. A él le gusta pescar. Sometimes we can translate this as la pesca if it was like one verb, but we are talking about verb patterns in this case, so let's forget that for a moment. The verb odiar, to hate, same thing. Regardless the way the second verb is used in the verb pattern in English, it has to be translated as infinitive form in Spanish. Yo odio trabajar. Same thing if it's translated from I hate working. Yo odio trabajar. To prefer, same thing. It doesn't matter. Prefiero irme o partir, pongámoslo así, partir temprano. Partir, ir, to leave. And also prefiero partir temprano. Same thing. One interesting here with to love something, right? To love doing something. In the case of I love to skate or I love skating. I can say in Spanish, yo amo patinar. Second verb, always in their infinitive form in Spanish. Yo amo patinar. Both of them. But in Spanish, when we use the verb to love as a verb pattern, it's better to translate love as encantar. And in this case, I say me encanta. It's pretty much like a reflexive verb. Me encanta patinar. Amo patinar, me encanta patinar. And once again, this is something that we are going to go further in future videos. In the meantime, let's focus on verb patterns themselves. To start, comenzar or empezar a, which is the same as begin, comenzar or empezar a. In Spanish, we do that. We can use comenzar or empezar. It's the same. It's exactly the same. Comenzar is more common, more natural. Empezar can be more like a little bit more for texts, for literacy, pretty much formal, but nonetheless, both are the same Spanish. And same thing, I started studying. And both are translated as empecé a estudiar. In English, we need to add a when it goes with another verb. This is something that we need to keep in mind. And both can be translated as this. And in this case, also, empecé o comencé. Any of those. Comencé also. Comencé a tener clases. Comencé a tener clases. Empecé a tener clases. It's the same. Second verb, tener. And it's the same for this verb. Right? So, these are the three different situations, scenarios in which we have verb patterns in English: the infinitive verb pattern, the gerund verb pattern, and the infinitive gerund verb pattern. We have the three different options in English. Nonetheless, regardless, despite any of the ones we are using, in Spanish, we always translate the second verb as a verb in their infinitive form. So please keep this in mind. This is information that will make it easier for you to understand and deal with this. You need to practice a lot, start using this. There are some other cases that we can mention just quickly, like the verb when we say usually, and a verb when we say I usually go. Yo suelo ir, to go. Go, that verb in the base form has to be translated as ir. When I say I'm used to, estoy acostumbrado a jugar, same thing. When I say I got used to waking up, me acostumbré a. I got used to, me acostumbré a. Waking up, levantarme temprano. So please remember that. And also when we use modal verbs like can, must, should, or could. I can walk. Yo puedo caminar. You must stay. Debes quedarte. He should study more. Él debería estudiar más. We could eat more. Podríamos comer más. So please keep this in mind. And this is the information that I wanted to share with you today. The verb patterns in English translated to Spanish always as a verb in their infinitive form. Please remember this. So what's the idea now? The idea for you is to start practicing this. One way to do that is writing, right? You can just sit down, start writing basic sentences using verb patterns in English, of course, and watching, okay, this should be translated always as an infinitive form, regardless the verb pattern you're writing down, and start doing that. The other way you can do that is by speaking, just thinking about sentences in English that are going to use. Can we use the word in Spanish? Como means what or how when you are speaking Spanish to someone. I don't understand the question, Jorge. Can you give me an example? I don't quite understand your question. Jorge says, can we use the word in Spanish como? Means what or how when you are speaking Spanish to someone? Well, the word como can be used, of course. I can say, ¿cómo te sientes? How do you feel? ¿Cómo te sientes? And I'm talking to somebody. The thing is that in Spanish, como, like, can be translated also as como. If I say, I work like a slave, trabajo como esclavo, that can be also translated, that like can be translated as como. And I can say, I work as a teacher, trabajo como profesor, that can be also translated as como. In the case of how are you? ¿Cómo estás? Of course, you can ask that. How are you? Sure. How are you? ¿Cómo estás? Yeah, totally. How, in most of the cases, can be translated as como. This is how you do it. Así es como lo haces. This is, esto es, así es, this is how, como you do it. Tú lo haces. This is how you do it. Así es como lo haces. Yeah, that how can be the only one example of an exception of that is when I say, how much is this? I don't say, ¿cómo cuesta esto? No. ¿Cuánto cuesta esto? That's an exception to this. But in most of the cases, the word how is translated as como in Spanish. Does that answer your question, Jorge? Whoa, I did have like a quick blackout here. So, does that answer your question? Hopefully it does. Okay, let's see. So the idea is for you to start practicing this. You need to practice this. You need to practice a lot, and with practice, you will get a hold on this, and you're going to improve your skills. Okay, that's correct. Perfect. So I think that's it for today. Remember, if you like the video, please You know what to do. Share with your friends, group, social media. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button. You'll get notifications because we are posting videos on a weekly basis. Also, being a subscriber, which doesn't cost a dime, that's for free, it will let you to participate during the live classes on the chat. This is important because the same way Jorge is asking questions, you can ask questions there. And of course, I'm going to be here to help as much as I can. Also, thank you very much again, all of you who are members of the channel. I really appreciate that. And I'm working right now also on a Patreon page in which I'm going to give something additional for those who want to become patrons and support this thing that we do in order to bring you this kind of contents. I really enjoy this. I always say that I really enjoy this. This is something that I really enjoy. I enjoy sharing the things that I know, and this is a very good practice for me also because I'm speaking in English a lot. Remember, when I teach Spanish, I'm going to explain a lot of things in English because I want the concepts to be understood. Some people say, no, you shouldn't speak in Spanish. I mean, you shouldn't speak in English if you're teaching Spanish. And I do the same in English. When I'm teaching English, I speak in Spanish because the idea is for you to fully understand the concepts behind all of these things. But I also have videos in which I go full Spanish. Mike's World, El Mundo de Mike, son videos en los que yo hablo todo en español, voy de paseo, muestro cosas de la ciudad, hablo de mi vida, todo en español. The Mike's World is a series of videos in which I speak everything in Spanish, and I go around the city, around places, doing stuff, showing you things that I do, culture stuff, everything in Spanish for you to practice. I also have a series of videos called idioms. Colombian slang. Oh, thank you very much for your kind words, El Jorge. Colombian slang is another series of videos in which I explain Colombian slang. And I also have a conversation with a guy here from Colombia, and I'm working on more videos which are going to involve a lot of Spanish conversations. So, and as I told you before, very soon we are going to start a brand new course. Our first course in this channel is going to be a basic course. We're going to start baby steps from scratch. Looking forward to helping you learn and improve your Spanish skills. So once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate your Feral Cipher. I didn't see you. My next live. Thanks for your question. I think it might be on Saturday, but if I cannot go live on Saturday, that's gonna be either Tuesday or Thursday next week. Remember, keep subscribe to the channel, click the bell button, the notifications, and you will get the notifications whenever I go live. Thank you very much, Irina, also for being here. My good friend Irina. Those out there, those of you who like gaming, she's a gamer. She's got her own channel. It's called Adventures with Red. You can find her youtube.com/@Adventures with Red. Awesome channel, great stuff. Enjoy that. You learn, study, learn a lot. Aprendan, practiquen, sigan adelante. Yo estaré trayendo material todo el que pueda y espero poder ayudarles a seguir aprendiendo. Looking forward to keeping on helping you. Have a great night. Thanks for being here, and see you next live class. Keep on watching the videos. Keep learning. Keep studying. Bye bye. Ciao. Nos vemos.